Hey, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and I'm going to demonstrate this trade for you here, how I used the limit order. I didn't get the recording going in time, but what happened was prices broke below here and then turned and broke out this upside for a second entry long. You got a little short trap down here. It's two tries to go lower, so when prices broke higher here, I dropped a limit order one tick back into this. It pulled back and filled me. It's bounced off my exit once. I haven't gotten filled yet, and so my hope is that it's going to go ahead and fill this and keep going, and I would suspect that we're going to try to fill this gap right here, and so I'm going to look to exit um, my runner right there. So I went in with 3 contracts. I'm going to try to scalp out with 2, and it could turn down here. I could be trapped up at this high side, but I like this because we got one nice leg up and then a little 2-legged correction. And let me show you this because somebody asked about legs. Notice the high right there. Prices turn down, they go back up, make a first entry, they pull back down for a second leg and then go back up, and when it breaks above there, that's a second entry long. And it's a 2-legged pullback, and there we are, we're bouncing off my order again. There we are, I got filled. Notice my stop moved to break even, and I'm going to try to ride this thing out and see if we can, let's just see what a measured move will be. This is a lot of times how I'll get but I'm figuring we're going to fill that gap. If you look for a measured move off of this move and put it here, then we've already made that. But what I'm going to do is use the more recent price action and look for a measured move, and that puts it up to about right here. So but I still think we'll probably fill this gap. They may back it up first, but the most I'm willing to give them is break even on this, and I may even move it to break even +1 just so that I at least make a tick, and I'd still make a little bit of money off that single tick. I wouldn't lose any money for the commission. But oftentimes they back it up just enough to get the break evens before they take it off exactly where you think it's going to go. But we do have these highs across here, and it could fail and turn and go back down. So you don't want to give it a whole lot of room. But I'm guessing that we're probably going to fill this gap. Let's just see what we can get here for a trend line. See how that holds. It might even be a little lower. But I'm looking for it to fill this gap here. And this is the overnight gap. This is where we closed on Friday, and we opened at 8:30 right here. We actually were above that, so we filled the gap really, but I'm still saying that's going to be the target right there, or I'm thinking that's going to be the target. Because we really have the gap was really from above, and we filled that to the downside and then went lower. You can see there, but this was where the close was on Friday. But that's still, they usually like to test that from both sides, and we haven't tested it from the lower side, so it's not like we're really filling the gap, but that's still kind of my target at this point, based on how prices react to that close. Notice how when we came through, we didn't really come back and test it yet. And we may not, but we did have a trend line break. This is the channel I saw coming down. We broke it here. We had a retest. Couldn't quite make a new low. Support was too high. There's another important area right across here. You can see how prices have moved on both sides of that. But I'm looking for it to come back up and test this over, where that overnight close was at a minimum. You can see we're kind of bouncing off that same area right there, trying to. But really what I wanted to do was just show you how I use that limit order. I didn't get the recording in time to show me putting it in, but once prices broke higher here, I dropped that limit order right there, one tick back into that bar, because look, it's not a very pretty bar, and prices came back just enough to fill me. And then we got our scalp, and now we're trying to get a little extra on the runner. And I may tighten this runner to one stop below this point if we go on higher. We'll just have to kind of see how it plays out. But I'm definitely not going to give it any more than break even. this point. So we'll watch it. I never get to demonstrate runners very often because generally, you know, most of them, a lot of them, you know, we don't get any runners. So it seems like every time I try to do a video, we never get a runner, and I'm always trying to catch one so I can demonstrate how I manage them. But there's different ways. Once you get to this point, there's different ways you could manage this. You could use your entire scalp to give you a little room to try to catch it and move it down here. And if you still don't lose any money, you may lose your commission or whatever, depending on how much room you give it. Or you could give it break even +1. I could go ahead and tighten this to 1 tick below that. There's just different ways you can manage your stop after that point. The critical part is getting scalped out and getting to at least a break even on at least the entire trade. But if we just get a measured move off of this, you know, we're looking at that right there. And that would be a good place to probably figure we might back up. And this could be right across there. So we'll leave that right there just to see what happens. Notice we got a little overshoot there, but then we overshot it a little bit on the low side maybe too, if I've drawn that trend line properly. So we'll just see what happens. If we reach this point and start backing up, I may just exit. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just give myself 1 tick below that point right there and lock in a little more profit just to make sure, because this thing may not, since this is not really an overnight gap that I was originally thinking. I don't know what I was thinking there, but we've already filled that from the upside. We may not go that high. This may be all we get before we come back to the EMA, and I'm not going to give that money back. So we'll just let it play out here, and you know, hopefully you saw the other trades off this trend line. There was a setup here. It was a little risky on the first entry. Better off to wait on the second entry, and then another chance to enter here, another chance to enter there. But somebody asked me about that. You know, I think they were talking about this second entry here. It still worked, but the key is coming off the trend line. That's where you're going to see the best setups. And it looks like they're trying to bring this thing back down, but you know, they'll make it look that way and then end up shooting straight up here in a minute. So I'm not going to change anything. But what we're waiting to, once you know you've got the trend channel, you're waiting on prices to come back and give you a setup bar off of that channel. And notice what happened each time it did. This is the only one that might have been suspect, and there's actually a failed second entry first, so it was tempting to go long there on the trap. And if you had it would have worked. It would have scared the bejeebers out of it. They probably scared most people out that tempted that, but you see it still worked, and that's what usually happens. Very few of those fail. But you know, there's setups. Each one of these touches is pretty much a short, and any one of them your stop would have been above. It never got threatened. This one right here was really suspect. I didn't like going short right there, but it still worked because we'd already come off the low side. There's a good chance it breaks lower and then goes higher there. And that's why I didn't like going short on this one, because now this one didn't go very far, and we were way overdue for another touch of this line. And if you didn't use a limit order on this one, you probably didn't get scalped out of this one before it went higher. You notice it came back, but you don't want to risk that because a lot of times it doesn't come back and it just keeps going higher and you just lose more money. So don't risk it. You're better off just to take a small loss and be done with it. So we've got these lows right across here. I'm going to move that up now. And we'll see what happens. This has kind of been the MO lately, and if you were looking for yesterday's video and couldn't find it, well, that's because I didn't do one. So if you couldn't find yesterday's video, it wasn't you. There was no video Monday. I had some personal issues, and I didn't get to trade, and I thought I might get a chance to come back to the office in time to do the video, but I just didn't, and so I let it slide yesterday. No video yesterday, so if you couldn't find it, that's why. And this is probably going to serve as our video today. Let me just go ahead and mark these trades. There's a short right here, one right here, right here, right here, And really, you know, this is a little more aggressive, but when prices didn't go higher here and turn back down, you know, you might have considered taking that one. Notice we're still going higher over here. And I didn't like taking the trap on this one, but I did like it right here. And there was nothing wrong with going long there. And you saw I went long right there. So those are the trades I've seen so far today. I'll go ahead and mark these in the right color while we let this play out. That way you can at least see what I've seen through. Whenever I get done with this video, I'll probably go ahead and upload it. It's been a pretty good trading day. I already got a message from a couple of people that they were done today. So I know I'm not the only one that saw all this stuff. I'm going to make this one green because it's a little bit, I didn't like it. I thought it was a little risky after already having some runners working down here. And notice we've about reached that target right here. But here's the thing, you exit that with a runner and it'll go right up there to where I think it's going to go, and if you don't exit it, it's going back up. You see, we're still heading for that. I'm still fairly confident that we're probably going to come up here and test this before we're going to find some real strong resistance. And there was no second entry trap on this one really. I thought maybe it might turn down there and try to trap people. But you can see we've got $150 almost on our runner right here. And we scalped out, we made $100 on our scalp portion. So we're about $250 to the good right now. So we could exit this and do fairly nicely right now. We'll just see how this bar ends right here. But while we're waiting on that, I'll show you some more two-legged moves. There's really a two-legged move right here. Notice this move up to right here, then it pulls back to right here, and then it goes higher again. That's two legs. And if you're having a hard time seeing this stuff, you can always drop to a smaller chart and it'll be obvious. But I don't recommend watching multiple charts because it distracts you and you miss other things and you screw up. And one chart will tell you one thing and the other you might see something different, and it just makes you give you indecisions. You need to learn to see it all on one chart, and you can if you watch them enough. So I like to watch them and learn to spot it all on a single chart, and then there's no doubt, no question. But if you can't, open up a smaller chart and you should see, you know, that should help you learn to see that that's a two-legged move right there. So there's really a short right there, but that I really was looking for prices to come back up here, so I didn't take that one. I waited to here, and that's the reason I didn't really like taking this one, because prices were not back to here. But you never know. Most of these second entry shorts do not fail if you're with the trend. And you should have been right here. You would know we're probably going to fill this gap. So that would have been enough reason to maybe consider taking that. So I tell you what, I'm just going to go ahead and mark it in green, because I bet you some of you saw it and probably maybe took it. And, you know, we'll just go ahead and it's a second entry short at the EMA. So I'm going to go ahead and give it green. It's a little more aggressive because you never know that the trend line might have been there, and that could be it. I mean, maybe this is a little spike in channel, but we broke it awfully quick. If so, I really think this is it right here, and you can see that fits very nicely. And then if you know, this is just the same line. You can see it's just a clone of the other line. Drag it down and it fits nicely on the other side. You notice we got a little gap right there. They're probably going to come back and try to fill it. But guess what? If it turns down here and fails and goes, that's a failed second entry short. But they're not really wanting to let it come back. They're fighting it out right here. The bulls and bears are fighting it out. You can see that. They're struggling to take it up. Of course, we're starting to see resistance. Look over here at this little double top kind of deal here. That's going to cause us resistance. There we go. It didn't close up there, but it ticked higher right there. So my guess is we're going higher still yet. But that's what's happening, and people always ask me that, I'll talk about resistance here, and they're like, where's resistance? Well, you got to go over here and look. See how we tried to go higher twice right there? Well, there's still resistance there. It may not be as strong now, or the buying may be strong enough to push through it, but then the next one will be right here at that high, and then back up here at this point, right across here, and that's why I'll put that line there. All right, let's see if we go higher here. See if we get a failed second entry short. And you could actually add on here if so, because we're probably going to, if it breaks higher there, we'll probably shoot on up, because it would be a failed second entry short. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to add on right there if it goes higher. And I'll probably just scalp out all of them right up here. Notice how that still didn't close below that line. We ticked below it, but it didn't close. That's a good sign that our line is valid. Other people are seeing that. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to tighten this stop, because if we break below that one, we'll just let it stop us out. But if we go higher first, we're going to add on. We'll basically make 2 points off the runner, because this is about where our target is based on a two-legged move. So we may not go any higher than that right there. We've already overshot it a little bit. So rather than risk giving this back on the runner, I'll just exit right here and we'll look for a different entry. But that's how I generally manage my runners. If it goes higher, I'm going to add on. If it comes down, I'm going to exit and then look for a new entry. And we got stopped out. You see that there. But so that's how I do that. I wish I could have got the recording going before it filled my limit order, but it filled it pretty quickly there. But again, let me just show you what I did right here. We had this is kind of a little congestion area, but it's a two-legged pullback to the EMA. Notice how we broke a little higher, so it's a breakout pullback. It's a second entry long on a breakout pullback as well. But when prices broke lower and went higher, a break above that's a second entry long, and it's a double bottom with a trap. So, but because this is not a very pretty bar here, instead of waiting on this bar, which you could have, and put your stop above it, what I did was once it broke above this bar, that's your second entry trigger really. So I drop a limit order here and just try to sneak in a little tick back into this bar instead of entering, 2 or 3 ticks later. Still would have worked for you, but that's what I like to do. And so I was in this thing at, what was it, 1683, I guess. I think it was 1683. Yeah, I was in at 1683. And then, of course, I was out right here, and then my runner, I exited right here. So we still may get a failed second entry short that triggers another long right there. I'm not going to make the video that long, but that's why I like that trade right there. This was really a second entry long right here, but it's a big broader double bottom after, and it's a retest attempt. And we've been seeing this almost every day, and then the market rallies the other direction. But I like that reversal. Notice the new high, pull back, first entry long, pull back, second entry long, and that's a big reversal bar with a double bottom matching the broader double bottom. So I like that long right there on the second entry long. And I already talked about all these. And this one was, I liked it because it's just kind of a trap, and it is notice this long first entry, pull back, second entry, and there's a little two-legged move. Notice that new high, one leg down, a move up, and then another leg down. Even though it didn't go very far, it's still a second leg, and then it's moving higher. So you got a little trap there. Guaranteed there were people, this didn't quite get its scalp, so there's already people trapped. You really could have gone long. The failed second entry was right here, but once this one failed too, you really could have gone long right there. But I didn't like it because we weren't outside that. Once this one closed a little higher, I liked it a little better. A break above that would probably hit a lot of stops. And you wanted to use a limit order here if you could, and it would have worked. So I did like that one. And you see now we're still trying to fail this second entry and go higher, and my guess is that we're probably going to end up going up here at least to make a new high. It may only be a tick or so though. That's all you need to make a new high. But we could still go higher. I still think we're probably headed to here and maybe even up to here. We might even rally all day from here. We just have to see how it works out. But I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.